Welcome. I'm Laura Ash, the owner of the Scarlet Sage Herb Company in San Francisco. And welcome to our Scarlet Sage channel. I'm going to teach you how to make a tincture today. Tinctures are alcoholic and water extractions of plant material. We use them internally for medicine, for herbal medicine. We also use them for external liniments if you need to use them as a wash. There's two different methods that you can use to make tinctures. There's the folk method and the scientific method. I'm going to teach you the folk method today. So the folk method is used for anyone who wants to use fresh or dried plants to make a tincture without having to weigh and measure anything. So this is all being used with visuals, so you can just look at a jar, see how much is in there, fill it up appropriately, put it away for 2 weeks, and then you have a tincture. So that's the method I'm going to teach you today. I will show you how to measure out alcohols to make sure you have the right amount of alcohol for the right amount of plant material. But today we're going to make a yarrow tincture. Yarrow, or Achillea millefolium, has been used for a long time in Europe for a healing remedy. It's also used a lot in energetic herbalism, so more spiritual herbalism, for protection. I love yarrow because it's a wonderful styptic. It actually helps stop bleeding. If you see fresh yarrow growing and you have a cut, let's say even a bee sting or any type of wound, you can chew up fresh yarrow leaf and stick it on the wound and it'll stop the bleeding. I've seen it work for nosebleeds and first aid situations, literally sticking it up the nose, even the tincture of yarrow to use as a wash or as a styptic. It's a wonderful bitter as well, so you can use it internally to help with the liver. Anything bitter helps liver detoxification and bile flow from the gallbladder. Bitters are really good for digestion in general, so you can use it for that. It's a wonderful, what we call antiviral. Not all herbs are actually true antivirals. They're not killing the virus, but they help move them through the body. And actually it's going to help you sweat as well, so it's considered a diaphoretic. So I love yarrow. It's one of my favorite herbs to use, and so I thought making a yarrow tincture today is a good way to start. So I have dried yarrow here, and in weight wise it's about a ½ an ounce as weight, but measuring it through volume it's about 200 milliliters in this jar. So we're going to use more of a visual for it today and less of the weight, but when you make a scientific method tincture you're going to use the weight. So any dried plant, you need at least 50% alcohol. Some people do a little less than that. I like making mine a little bit stronger. So 50% alcohol and 50% water. So vodka, for example, is 40% alcohol, 60% water. You could technically use vodka for this. The end result when you press a tincture out, meaning that you press the plant material away from the menstruum, or the alcohol and water mixed together, which we call the menstruum, you want at least 20 to 25% to preserve it for a long time. That's why I like using at least 50% in dried plant and at least 75% alcohol and 25% water in a fresh plant tincture. But we're doing a dry plant tincture today. I do have alcohol here that's 190 proof or 95% alcohol. So we're going to use this and make a 50% alcohol menstruum. So I'm going to measure it 100 milliliters in this jar, and that's the alcohol. And then I'm going to put 50% water. So you're making the menstruum. So you're making sure you know exactly how much water per alcohol, and another 100 milliliters. So this is our menstruum. And all you're going to do is pour it on top of the yarrow. Now with dried plants we can use a lot more menstruum, but you want to make sure it's at least covering everything really well, so it's completely covered by the liquid here. And that is really going to be a very, very strong tincture. Cover it, seal it, put the date on it. And so putting that in a warm place, in a cupboard, so it macerates for 2 weeks, straining it out with a cheesecloth or a muslin cloth will make you your first tincture. Again, this is going to be quite strong. You can add it to other herbs and other tinctures when you're using it in a formula. But I don't prefer to mix all the herbs together in the same jar and making the tincture as a combination, because some herbs actually need a different amount of alcohol and water to extract their properties correctly. But with yarrow, 50% tincture is exactly what this needs. So as you can see, some of it's floating to the top, so we're getting a nice covering of that tincture. This is how you make a tincture. I'm hoping you use it, and I'm hoping you go and make medicine. With a fresh plant tincture, you can just fill up the jar with a fresh plant like cleavers this time of year, rosemary, anything you find fresh. Make sure you have at least 75% alcohol. Pour it, make sure it's completely covered, and then you would be able to macerate it for 2 weeks the same way. Thank you so much. I hope you join us again. Have a beautiful day.